Hi, this is Will Friedle, the voice of Terry McGinnis on Batman Beyond, and I want to welcome everyone to the Comic Collectors Guild. And whether you're a comic lover, collector, or fan, you can visit them at comiccollectorsguild.com. Remember to always keep hunting.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of World's Finest, brought to you by the Comic Collectors Guild. I am your host. My name is Jake. You guys know me as the Superman, and joining me from Gotham City is Lee Lawson. Lee, how are you, sir?
I am doing fantastically well, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. We are honored to be joined by a very special guest. He is by far the best photographer and editor I have ever met in my entire life. He's also a very, very good friend and responsible for all my Superman pictures. Ryan Sims from Ryan Sims Photography is here. Ryan, how are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. Just glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you taking some time. Obviously, we know each other. You and Lee getting acclimated with one another. And we just have some quick questions. First and foremost, why don't you just tell us a little bit about you and who Ryan is?
Awesome. I always have to think about this question because it's like, how far back do I really want to go and talk about myself? I'm originally from Laurel, Mississippi. Most people don't know where that is until I tell them that they made a movie with Matthew McConaughey about it, The Free State of Jones. And
Nice.
like, or like HGTV, there's like a show called Hometown. But anyway,
There you go.
one of those two is like, oh, yeah, Laurel. Or I still have no idea. So I'm from, southern Mississippi. Maybe my accent will come out, you'll see. But I grew up on comics, and my brother and I used to go to this really old store called Dexter's Cards and Comics, where we would collect cards and comics. And
Nice.
fell in love with Batman, Superman, X-Men, Spider-Man, all of that. Shoebox is full of stuff. And to this day. As a matter of fact, just random side note, I still, to this day, I believe, have like The Death of Superman still in its original packing. One
There
that we
you
can
go.
read and one that's like still in its packaging.
Oh,
Perfect.
perfect, man. Best of both. So it
Oh, yeah.
sounds like you've been a comic fan for a while now. Do you cross both realms here, DC and Marvel, or do you have a favorite between them?
Oh man, I don't think I could choose. I really, it's like trying to choose, what child is your favorite. I'm just like, I don't have a favorite child. I love them both equally, but in different ways.
Yeah.
Good answer, man. Good answer. Love it.
Yeah, and I know you're a big Star Wars fan as well. I know we've discussed that.
Oh yeah. Ever since I went over to my grandparents' house at, I don't know, 6 years old maybe, and fell in love with the original trilogy, and I was just like, VHS all the way.
There you go.
Put that on loop. But
There you go.
Yeah.
Very nice, man. So that's cool. So, as Jake said, you're a cosplay photographer. What really got you into photography in the very beginning, and how long have you done it for?
Oh man. I think so cosplay photography I've really probably only done for like 2.5 years or so. Photography itself, oh gosh, now I gotta start doing math. I just
Carry
turned
the 12.
yeah, right. I just turned 34, and so I think 24. I think you could probably say about 10 years, 10-ish, give or take, years. But like, no, I honestly, I think there was always an interest in photography, probably because of Spider-Man. Just like
I like it.
Yeah. I mean, I could go into further detail, but I just felt like it was always kind of an underlying. Well, and I always liked to draw and to paint and to do, really artistic things. And my wife and I would do music. And so we're just very artsy fartsy type of people. But yeah, so, kind of tapping into that artsy outlet. I always wanted to do photography, but never really thought I actually would. I would just dabble. And then one day I needed a job as I was going to school. And so I got my first photography job at Portrait Innovations, taking pictures of crying babies and
There you go.
And families. And it was good. It was a good job, but it was more of a point and click. I didn't really learn a whole lot other than just to have a lot of patience, which is a huge thing in photography.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
You have to get the shot. So it was training me. Yeah. And then I got a bunch of other photography jobs. It seems like every job after that was a photography job. So I got involved in like senior photography and really learned about lighting and camera settings and all of that stuff. And from there, just kind of, picked it up on my own. My bachelor's degree, I have a bachelor's degree in digital entertainment and game design. So naturally, as I'm working these jobs, I'm in school getting this degree to be a game designer, and fell in love with my visual design theory class, which is where we learned Photoshop.
There you
And
go.
So from that point forward, it was, I always wanted to try to learn, photography to help my Photoshop, but in turn, Photoshop was really helping me with my photography. So they just kind of worked together, and I just started from that point looking for outlets of how I can combine photography and Photoshop. And being a big movie nerd, a big comic, big video game, all of those things, I'm like, what are some cool outlets to where I can kind of get this creativity out? So I would try to recreate movie posters and do fun things like that. And then, of course, I discovered that cosplay was an actual thing. I'm like, wait, people dress up and do this, and not only do it, but some of them do it for a living. I'm like, I need to get in contact with these people, and start doing this because this sounds like fun.
Yeah. For me, I mean, too, one thing I always found interesting when, I kind of learned and saw firsthand, like everything you do between like the photography, like the lighting aspect, and then the post editing with like Photoshop, which of those outlets is like the toughest to learn? And how long does it typically take where you're like, or how long did it take for each where you're like, okay, I feel like I got an understanding of this where you feel comfortable?
Man, it's so hard because I feel like it's taken years to do both. Whenever I did the senior photography, and we actually started learning about, what is Rembrandt lighting, or what is, if you've got a 2-light setup, here's some cool fun things you can do with this 2-light setup, and doing years of that on the job and never really ever touching Photoshop. But then getting introduced into Photoshop and learning this vast program where practically anything is possible. I don't know, man. You may have to ask me that question again just to make sure I'm understanding fully what you're saying. Like, which one took longer? Is that what you?
Which one was the hardest to learn?
Oh, gosh, man. So I feel like once you have the lighting and photography down, it's really just trying to figure out how to mesh that. What's in your brain with Photoshop. Photoshop, I feel like, takes a long time. Like, I still don't feel like I've mastered Photoshop. Yeah, like it's because it's, even though like you have your own way of doing a certain thing in Photoshop, and I've always used this expression, there's like, 1,000 different ways to get to grandma's house, right? It's like, here I am, here's my destination. So my goal is to get from point A to point B, but there's so many different routes that I could take to get to point B. I've gotten comfortable in my ways of getting to point B, but then I've become friends with other photographers and like, oh yeah, well, I do it this way. I'm like, oh, that's really cool and way easier than what I've been doing. So I'm going to start doing that. Or now I've got like another, bit of knowledge to tack into my tool belt. And so honestly, if I had to choose, I would say Photoshop, just because I'm still learning. Like today, I learned new things like this week about Photoshop. But the same thing could go with lighting. And as you know, Jake, man, with the photos, the photo shoot itself might take 2-3 hours, but it takes at minimum at least that long to do a really good Photoshop composite, and a lot of times it takes longer because there's the preparation involved of gathering if it's stock that you're purchasing or if you're having to go and shoot it yourself, and trying to match lighting with camera perspectives and angles. Did I shoot this from a low angle or a high angle? You know, just little nitpicky questions. I'm like, what can I do to make this composite the best that it can possibly be? And then after I spent hours doing that, all right, now let's actually do it. And then and that takes several hours, and then sitting back and looking at it and be like, am I happy with this? Let's see if I feel the same way tomorrow, and then we'll, you know. So yeah, definitely the post, I feel like, is the longer, harder.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, do you like your first ever, outside of the point and click, you know, your first photograph job that you were doing, outside of that, do you remember your first photography session? Do you know, can you remember that first experience and what that was all about?
First photography experience period, or like with cosplay?
Let's go with cosplay. Let's talk about that.
Okay.
Your first,
Because I'm sure the first photography experience ever was complete disaster, and it was probably with like a crying child. But like, no. So my, if I'm not mistaken, I think the first cosplay experience that I've ever had would have been with Adam and Shannon Prince, who is Nashville Dark Knight on Instagram, and his wife's handle is like Poise Ivy something.
Something
But
like
she but her main thing isn't just cosplay. She's like a makeup artist in Nashville, and she's a really good one too. But yeah, I remember again looking for those outlets to want to express this creativity and kind of get it out there and kind of get my feet wet in this cosplay world. And lo and behold, you know, this couple lived like 15, 20 minutes away. I'm like, oh, I need to get in contact with these guys. And so literally I just contacted Adam and was like, hey man, which I think, by the little side note here, I think it's so cool that his name is Adam and he plays, you know, he's Batman, like, you know, Adam West.
West,
And then their last name is Prince, like Diana Prince, you know.
And they do Wonder Woman, Batman.
And she does Wonder Woman and Batman, I just thought that was so cool. But anyway, yeah, so I called them up and they were like, at first glance, they were probably like, okay, whatever. I don't really know. They might not have said that at all. But I think once they saw what I was capable of doing, they were like, okay, yeah, let's do this. And they came over to my house. We photographed in my little one-car garage. So not a big area at all. And I just remember we did some really, really cool stuff with them, and they were blown away. I was blown away. I was just like, yeah, we got to keep doing this. And literally from that one gig, it just felt like the cosplay stuff just started coming in one after another. And then I was just doing cosplay stuff all the time. I was like, okay, great. Let's just do this. So.
For sure. I think it's funny too, you know, talking about like even our experience. It's funny, like when like some of the edits you've done for me, like the end result is so insanely epic and awesome. But like there's like one where I'm flying and there's like lasers coming to my eyes, but all I can remember is like I was on my tippy toes for like half a second. I know I'm about to fall over. Like I just think it was just so funny on the back end. Like you're sitting in a room with a green screen behind you, and like Brian's telling me to bend in like these awkward positions I can barely get into because my suit's so tight. I have a dude holding my cape behind me. But then the end result's like the most badass thing ever. So it's so funny, like when you're a part of it, to know like what you were doing and like getting a laugh out of it and seeing how it ends up. It's like, how the heck did he do that? You know,
it's like this is either going to be really great or a very bad train wreck. So
But so obviously you've had, I mean, just look behind you. There's so many epic pictures and all the ones we do. Is there one or two particular pictures that you've done that you're like especially proud of, or that you would consider like your Mona Lisa?
Oh man. So there several stick out in my mind. It's probably the ones that either took the longest or they were for like a certain project, or yeah. So the ones that are sticking out in my mind was the Into the Spider-Verse one. Where it's just like it's a recreation of a comic book cover, but it's like all of these different Spider-Man and women kind of like swinging into action behind like this fiery background, and it was because the lighting company that I use, Paul C. Buff here in Nashville. I think it's so cool that they're here in Nashville, but like they service photographers all over the world. So I mean, to me is a pretty big deal that I got to do this, how I got the shot behind the scenes video and be a part of their series, and it was with Tether Tools, so it was like a Paul C. Buff and Tether Tools kind of featured series, and I was like, what do you guys want me to do? It's like, well, we love your superhero stuff, like do that. I'm like, okay, great, well, what should I do? I'm like, whatever you want, I'm gonna do Spider-Man.
You go.
And so that was really cool, just because we rented a studio and I called a bunch of people in. And we, I can't remember how long it took, but it probably took like a full week, I think, after we shot it and everything to edit and everything. But it shots like that. And another good example would be at Holiday Matsuri this past December. Had a big group of people again, and we did X-Men. It was, and it turned out, I thought it turned out really cool. Because it normally when I do the composites, it just involves one person. So I'm always kind of looking for something new and something creative that's really going to push me and do something different. And this involved, well, several people, so we had a Wolverine, a Cyclops, a Gambit, a Rogue, a Magneto. And so it's like this really epic, cool scene with an explosion in the background, and Wolverine's in the forefront, like with his claws. And
oh man, that sounds so badass.
It's so
that
cool.
Sounds really cool. Yeah.
And the only other one is it's the same group of people, but it's the Bat family. It's so funny because I think Zack Attack and I talked about this the other day, but I thought that shot was really cool because it was an idea that I had in my head that really kept building upon itself. And by the time we were done, all of these new ideas had kind of flowed in. It was like there were two different Batgirls, like I'm going to forget their names, Cassandra Cain, Barbara Gordon, and then there's Nightwing, and then there's Red Robin, and then there's Damian Wayne, and there's Red Hood, and then there's Batman at the top, but Joker's behind him, like with a crowbar. And so it's like everybody's kind of climbing up this mountain to Batman.
Yeah.
And that was the idea. Like there was nothing more than that. But then I was like, ooh, wouldn't it be cool though if it was snowing? And then it was like, oh, what if they were inside of a snow globe? Oh, that'd be cool. And then it was like, what if inside the snow globe I made them look like they were statues? I'm like, oh, that's even cooler. And then someone else pointed out and was like, oh, they kind of look like a Christmas tree. I'm like, it does, doesn't it? I didn't plan that. And so all of these things. And then my wife wrote this really eerie rendition of the Dark Night Before Christmas, and I was just like, oh, this is Christmas themed and it's going to be awesome. And so just little things like that really stand out in my mind. I mean, if you're going to ask me what my absolute favorite shot is, I haven't shot it yet, but those are ones that kind of stick out in my mind because they just took a lot of time, a lot of planning, and a lot of post to create.
Yeah,
that's so cool, man. So you talked about a lot of the I have another question. You talked about the X-Men photo shoot and the Batman family. Have you done any other really team photos that come to mind?
Oh man, oh goodness. So Justice League, we did a Justice League, and it wasn't like a full Justice League. I remember I did a shot with Jared Lucchese, who's the Flash and Nash, and then some of the shots I had from Adam and Shannon as a Wonder Woman and Batman. And then they had another guy come in whose name was Brad Bolin, and he was Superman. And so I had a 4-member team Justice League for roughly, I guess, around the time that movie came out.
Yeah.
But now I know Pepe, who's Aquaman back here. And I'm still looking for my Cyborg, but
I know he's hard to find. I haven't found barely anybody who does Cyborg.
Maybe
it's a bit of a complicated one to put together.
It's funny. Yeah, so I did a montage of release the Snyder Cut when it came out. They all did the whatever, and I had to put Ray Fisher's poster in there because I couldn't find a dang Cyborg.
I mean, it's probably pretty tough. You know what I mean? To recreate that.
Yeah.
No.
But I'd have to go through my feed to look for other types of group shots. I'm sure I have, but those are
Yeah.
the ones that stick out to me.
Well, I have to go right into this. You mentioned Justice League, obviously, Superman. I have the fortunate ability to be able to coast with Superman, every other day, it seems like. So how did you and Jake go about shooting the Superman, shoot? I mean, any stories that come to mind, please share. I'd love to just hear about that.
Oh, man. Well, I remember, we definitely talked about it for a while.
It was a couple months. Yeah.
It was some planning that was involved, and when it finally all happened, so many details about that day, right? My buddy Silas, who came in to help assist, I thought he was going to have to leave right off the bat because he wasn't feeling too well. I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to have someone to fluff the cape,
Yeah. I felt poor guy. I felt like a diva. Like my suit was so tight. It's like literally being altered right now. My suit was so tight. I couldn't bend over to do anything. So poor Silas, I'm like, could you I swear I'm not trying to just be a dad. Like, could you please hand me my cell phone? And could you please give me this? Cause I cannot bend over to do this. And then he was like, hold me. He was a trooper all day. It was great.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it turned out he was fine.
Yeah.
But then, and normally I've always shot on a gray background just because I've gotten so used to it. And then I think that was the first day I decided to go green screen and do that, which I mean wasn't necessarily a huge leap. I understand the mechanics of how that works. I was like, should I try something new right now, or should I just stick to what I've always done? Yeah. There was definitely a lot of planning. We had a Pinterest board going of ideas, a little idea board of things that we liked and wanted to try. And so.
Yeah, and it made it really fun and easy, I think, for both of us, being it was my first time doing anything like that. And, we had made this Pinterest board, and anybody who's listening who wants to do photography or cosplay, we had a Pinterest board of, famous Superman covers, famous, the Alex Ross shoots, which ended up being awesome, and Jim Lee stuff. And it just made it so easy because we just literally looked at this picture. We're like, how about this one? We're like, okay, I can do that pose. And he's like, I can do that lighting. And that, but it turned out to be really epic because, we put our own twist on it, and, we had fun. I mean, I remember the shoot, I think, was supposed to be a couple hours, and it ended up being a lot of hours. We were there. And it almost didn't happen because the day before I came is when you guys got a tornado. So my suit hadn't even come yet. My suit arrived the day before, and then they had a tornado, and I was like, are we good? He's like, we haven't got hit. And I was like, all right, I'm on the way.
It's crazy, man. It's Nashville gets hit with a tornado, and then this whole COVID thing happens, and just everything going on. We're like, 2020, come on.
Yeah, and then there was a master class going on next door and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, and we didn't know that was going on, so it's like, we gotta be really quiet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. It was awesome, but I mean, it was incredible. Why don't you, do you have any big projects coming, or a dream project that's in your agenda here coming up in the next few months?
Oh man. Oh.
That you can
so
reveal, because I know you have secret projects and public projects.
Well, I know I'm actually doing a webinar with Shootproof, and Shootproof is basically a company that kind of they do prints and they do a bunch of other stuff, but it's kind of like an all-in-one photography business thing. You can handle a lot of your business aspects from it, and so their slogan is focusing on what matters most for the photographer. And so they're a really cool company, and so I'm going to do a webinar, a free webinar with them Thursday. So anybody who wants to just sign up and watch it, I'm basically going to be talking about the compositing process, starting from your concept to the execution of that concept, retouching, dodging and burning, color grading, and things like that. And so that'll be super cool. But as far as dream job project or anything like that, gosh, I don't even know, man. I would love to do something, obviously on some superhero movie, do the movie poster for, something DC or Marvel related. That'd be great. But yeah, man, I'm all about just whatever pushes me to do something new that I haven't done before. Anytime I approach a project, I'm just like, I don't really know if I can do that. That really makes me want to do that. You know what I mean? It's more of this driving force to want to try something new instead of being intimidated by it. And so I really, I've got some friends who are diving into the 3D world and really just doing awesome at that.
Yeah.
And so I've been trying to dabble and to do some fun things in 3D and learning little bits here and there. So I think if I did something again on this big epic scale, like the one thing that's kind of been popping through my head a lot lately is like doing some like Superman versus like Doomsday or like the whole League fighting.
Yeah.
Like something Avengers in-game big, you know what I mean? Where there's
Yeah.
a lot of people and a lot of stuff going on. And granted, it takes a lot of time to do that, but I'm not saying that's necessarily my dream job thing, but I'm looking forward to doing something on this great big epic scale because I really like portraying that type of thing and making it come to life.
I know a guy who can play the Superman, just saying. I know a guy.
He knows him. He knows him.
Yeah. Do you have, the only thing I've asked is, do you have like a favorite superhero or character that you followed like as a kid?
Oh man. Okay. So if I had to choose one, I would have to choose Spider-Man. Just because, and I'm sure a lot of
the photographer. You said you were a
Yeah.
photographer
There you go.
following Peter Parker's footsteps. There you go.
yeah. Well, I always just found it so refreshing, I guess, because as much as he was a superhero, like he was also just an ordinary guy. You know, and granted, I fell in love with Spider-Man when I was in high school, and he was, high school student. But the more, as you grow older, you're like, man, there's really some depth and complexity to this character. I mean, this is a guy who not only is dealing with acne and girl problems and homework, but he's having to live this double life, secret from his family, from his aunt, and his parents died and his Uncle Ben died, and so you've got that, and my father passed away when I was really young, and so like I related to him on that level. And just this aspect of not only do you have the superhero life, we have all these villains that you have to fight, and a lot of times it's just more than you can bear. But a lot of those villains were like people that he respected or loved, or his mentors or his teachers or his best friend's dad, or like his best friend. I'm just like, how does this get worse, man? Like this sucks.
He's got some broad luck.
And then it's like, I can't even go to counseling and talk to somebody about this stuff. I just got to bottle it up,
Yeah.
And so, there were a lot of themes that went with that, that I feel like not only that I resonated with, but I feel like a lot of people can resonate with. Spider-Man for sure, for me at least.
Nice.
Yeah, Lee's a big Spider-Man fan, so
Yeah,
I feel like too. We've always talked about too. Spider-Man's such a good character as a kid to like introduce your kids to, because because Batman's pretty dark and his storylines are dark. Some of Superman's can be a little dark.
Yeah.
But Spider-Man, he's got the humor. He's a little light. It's any real problem, but you can read him as a kid and be like, oh yeah, like I got you.
The entry level is a teenager right there. You know what I mean? When most people are doing it, I mean, he's got that early teens, the tween age. I mean, it fits perfectly.
And if you think about it, I mean, like really, when it comes to his story, like his story really is just as dark as as
definitely.
Batman's, because it wasn't his mom and his dad, but I mean, like his parents are both dead, and then Ben did get shot,
and his girl.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But it's the fact that like he is still like upbeat and chipper, and it didn't like completely destroy his personality,
No.
But having said that, like, I mean, Batman is definitely like one of my all-time favorites.
Of course.
It's always, from DC, it's always been Superman and Batman. And from Marvel, it's always been Spider-Man and then whoever else, probably Wolverine. If I had to choose two from Marvel, it would probably.
Hey, you'll fit in good with us. Those are our two.
I was gonna say,
too.
Yeah.
You didn't choose wrong, man. You didn't. Yeah,
that's awesome. I know you have a lot of stuff going on. You got a new podcast that just came out. You have your Patreon page. Why don't you fill everyone in to where they can find you, like on social media, and then some of your Patreon and podcasts?
Sure. Yeah. So I am on Facebook. Pretty much everything is whatever that is / Ryan Simmons Photography. So Facebook / Ryan Simmons Photography. Instagram is at Ryan Sims Photography. YouTube / Ryan Sims Photography. On YouTube, I do a bunch of different stuff. I do speed edits, and I am working on doing more tutorial type videos. But I have a series that I really like that I do called From Raw to Real. From Raw to Real with Ryan. And it's basically where we take certain Photoshop composites, especially things that are popular in pop culture, like whether it's TV shows or movie posters or things that people would recognize. And we basically take it from camera raw to reality, so that's what we, call it From Raw to Real. And I mess up a lot too, so it's also pretty raw and real. So it's got that double layer to it. And so I really like that series, and I definitely want to keep that going. But yeah, so I've got that, and then also the Patreon. It's patreon.com / Ryan Sims Photography. On there, I do a lot of the same stuff, tutorials and stuff like that. But what separates it from most everything else is that, when I was becoming a photographer and learning Photoshop and, how to be a digital artist, I definitely struggled a lot. I feel that way still sometimes, but my goal is to try to make that a little bit easier for other people. So I do like one-on-ones, and I'll coach with other people, how to do certain techniques and learn certain techniques. And then I'll also give like stock images, Photoshop actions, brushes, things like that. So yeah, things that will make their life easier when it comes to the whole Photoshop process. But yeah, I'm trying to think if I missed anything. I don't know if I did or not. But
Your new podcast.
Oh yeah, podcast. Yeah, of course. Yeah, dude. So I during this whole COVID situation, I decided just to bombard myself with more than I could ever do. And so I decided to start a podcast, one, in an effort just to chat with people, because I just love to chat with people. And so I needed an outlet in that area. But also, it seemed like it was minimal editing on my side. It was something I could do and then just kind of start popping them out. And I figured it'd be a good opportunity to kind of get to know not just me, but some of these cosplayers that maybe people have heard of, but don't know much about, or maybe they're hearing about for the first time. So we just had our first episode the other day. It's called Stitches and Lenses. So I interviewed Zach Attack Cosplay. Zach actually helped me come up with the name. I was like, hey, what's a good name for this podcast? He's like, Stitches and Lenses, Stitches because he makes his own costumes.
Makes his costumes. And
lenses for photographers. What do you don't think about it. I'm like, I'm not. Let's do that. Stitches and Lenses. Let's go with that. And so yeah, we did that. And so I plan on having a couple more people like Jake on there.
I'll be there.
Yeah. And yeah, man, it's just something that we do just for fun, So yeah.
No, well,
Sounds
I
awesome,
can tell
man.
you firsthand, like your stuff is absolutely incredible. I speaking of someone who's had their work done, you've exceeded all expectations for me. I know we have a lot more to do. And if you want to check out his Instagram and see all these different characters and shots, it's definitely worth scrolling through. If you see a couple of Superman, please hit that like button because they're pretty sweet. But we really appreciate you, taking some time to chat with us. And I look forward myself to work with you, a lot more in the future.
Yeah, bud, man, looking forward to it. It's gonna be
absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah,
well,
I really appreciate you coming on, man. You're an awesome photographer. Definitely a chance
dude.
to look through some things. So yeah, nice.
Thank you guys.
Nice.
Thank you guys for having me, man.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing
Yeah, and we found out you're an awesome Jimmy Olsen. Go figure. That's a new one too.
Oh yeah.
He joined the cosplay world himself, Jimmy Olsen in house. But no, check out our website as well, www.comiccollectorsguild.com. Please hit that subscribe button. You can check out all content on Spotify and Google Podcasts. And we'll be coming with you with more content. Until next time, keep hunting, guys.